Hey, how's it going, guys? This is your boy Hazzed, and today we're going to be doing a top 5 video on the strongest caster classes. Now, there's been a lot of complaining about caster classes and saying they're not strong and saying there's a giant melee meta going on, which, I can say melee are definitely strong, but I have seen good casters on each one of these DPS in 3s and in 2s perform on a top quality equal to a lot of melee. Now, am I saying that a Shadow Priest is going to beat a Frost DK 1v1? Oh no, I'm still talking Arena here, but some of these other classes can beat Frost DK's 1v1, and we'll go ahead and get into that and talk about strengths, and we'll talk about weaknesses. So let's do this, guys. Number 5 on our list is going to go to Elemental Shamans. Now you're thinking, crazy Elemental Shaman? Yeah, guys, Elemental Shaman. Now the reason for that, Elemental Shamans, when it comes to just trying to put out some raw pressure, don't really do that much if you're just trying to single target. You're like, well, this seems like pretty uneventful. Even though we got a good proc there, this isn't doing much for me. No, you wouldn't expect it to do much for you from this. Basically, what you do on an Elemental Shaman to deal a crazy amount of pressure is you got to have multiple targets. So like 2s and 3s, you're going to have more targets to hit your Fire Shock on. Your Flame Shock. Fire Shock. Anyway, so when you get Flame Shock on the target, it's going to allow your Lava Burst to proc up. As we see there, we're getting a ton of procs. And the more you have on there, the more chances you're going to get procs. And once you start getting crazy procs, you just start sending the Lava Burst at a single target, and you shoot that guy like a dang machine gun, right? So you can imagine this takes some time in Arena. It's not straightforward to do something like this, dot up targets, kind of LOS. So you kind of go with on L. You got to go with that little process. You put the Flame Shock on this guy. You kind of pop out here, put Flame Shock on this guy, put Flame Shock on this guy. And once you start getting some crazy procs, you're gonna throw in those major cooldowns and just blast the living crap out of somebody. And just laser beam. Yeah, look at this. Boom, 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 boom. They're dying right now. Reapplying Flame Shock. And then we get more Lava Bursts. Now, if you have a good setup, LE Shamans can be extremely powerful from what you just saw. And, of course, in Battlegrounds, if they start getting that Flame Shock on people, they can just start absolutely annihilating, single target burst. Even if you have to cast, it deals still quite a bit of damage. But as you can see, the real damage definitely comes from the instant procs on those Lava Bursts. So you go Lightning Bolt, and then you can instant proc Lava Burst if you pop your artifact weapon, dealing a ton of damage, and then dropping an Earth Shock on them, and that just makes people explode from the damage that you see right there. So if people are telling you that casters are underpowered, I'd have to say in a 1v1 field, definitely, this caster is definitely one of the ones that's underpowered. But when it comes to 3s, LE Shamans can be absolutely insane. They are a pretty focusable target if you and your team are not very aware of line of sight and, of course, positioning. And, of course, in 2s, you're going to really require some kind of class that can control the other targets, as in melee. So if you're playing, like, Arms Warrior LE Shaman and the Arms Warrior is not going into really aggressive, you're going to have a lot of problems. Now, if you're playing with like a really good rogue that can sap a target, and then he opens up on a target, stopping him, of course, and you come out and burst on him with your Flame Shocks, it's going to play out okay, but I wouldn't recommend doing it on that since you may want to spread your Flame Shock. But I'd say probably the best bet would have to come in the form of probably like a Frost Mage would be your best bet. Maybe a Fire Mage. Probably a Fire Mage would be your best bet as for a LE Fire Mage. So he can actually Nova and Poly and keep him off you quite a bit. And if they trinket, one of the key CCs for you to actually get some damage out, he can just re-Poly. So that's one of the cool things about a Mage. So let's go ahead and jump to number 4. Number 4 on this list is going to be Shadow Priest. Now, I had to transfer it over on the leveling beta from live. This is actually my Shadow Priest from live. Yeah, he looks like Mario. What up, dude? Anyways, so why is Shadow Priest number 4 on this list? Shadow Priest are, again, they kind of fall under the same thing as LE Shamans, not 1v1 classes. But in 2s with a good partner can be extremely powerful, especially because shields, of course, can go on themselves as well as their partner. They can heal themselves as well as their partner. I mean, priests are actually pretty handy when it comes down to actually arena mechanics. But as far as 1v1 goes, I'd have to say Shadow Priest have the shortest stick of just about any class when it comes to duels right now. But the way that makes Shadow Priest strong is they have a pretty crazy amount of AoE and single target damage in Arena right now. as well as, I believe, a Mass Dispel, of course. Yep, right there. And this Mass Dispel is pretty powerful because it can also take classes out of stealth. It can, of course, dispel bubbles, get rid of shields. And honestly, mechanically, Shadow Priests are very powerful, as you saw. Now, one of the things that actually is going to cause them to be strong is it looks like Holy Pallies are going to be one of the best healers when it comes in Legion. Now, of course, what makes a Pally strong? The bubble. What counters the bubble? A Shadow Priest. So you can see where this is going. Anything with the Shadow Priest in some kind of... I'd have to say, as they fall under the same thing as Ellie, I wouldn't play with an Ellie unless the Shadow Priest and Ellie were really good. Otherwise, I'd go with Fire Mage, Shadow Priest, Frost Mage, Shadow Priest. Something, of course, again, that has a lot of control, so the Shadow Priest has a lot of time to get away. And, of course, free cast, since more than likely a Shadow Priest is going to be focused in Arena. Now, why wouldn't you play with an Ellie Shaman in Arena, unless he was really good? Because his CC is going to have to be on par. And, of course, his damage is going to have to be insane. So he's going to have to pump out a ton of damage for them to even look at him to think about mitigating the damage. But it is something an Ellie Shaman can do if you leave him alone. So, I mean, it could be a viable thing, but I'm telling you, more control is going to be better for you when it comes to playing a Shadow Priest. Now, what comps and twos have I seen Shadow Priest play out? I've seen him play, I mean, mainly just like I said, kind of like the whole threes thing. Definitely the Frost Mage is going to be best for him. Maybe a good rogue. But they're really going to have to be kind of aggressive, and they're going to need a partner that can go out pretty aggressive so they can set up instead of getting set up on. Because if, like, you're playing against a warrior team or a demon hunter team and they leap onto you or they charge you before your partner's going to set up, chances are you're not going to win the match on a Shadow Priest because you're going to get blown up before you reach, see what ability is it, Void Form, something like that, to heal up a majority of your damage. Of course, you have your little dispersion cooldown, which reduces damage taken, which is pretty nice. I'm not going to act like I know all the new features because, of course, I haven't made one on the Legion Live. This character, I agreed on it, and the other guys agreed on it, that it's definitely going to come in at number 3 just for the pure strength that it has in Arena. Now, again, crappy dueling, not so great in 2s, but extreme 3 strength. So, let's jump over to number 2. Of course, number 3 on our list is going to be Frost Mages, guys. Now, why Frost Mages? Because Frost Mages have a ton of CC and a ton of kind of roots, I guess you could say. Of course, with Frost Nova and a couple other abilities. And, of course, they have Poly, they got Blink, they got Frost Shield. Frost Mages can be pretty aggressive and kite out targets. Now, I'd have to say right now I would prefer a different variation of Mage for playing that style. But Frost Mages are very good for getting a target alone. So you're playing like Ellie again, Frost Mage, and you'll have a lot of time for that Ellie to deal a lot of pressure because the Frost Mage is going to be slightly aggressive. And because of all this slows and roots, and of course sheep spam, they're going to have a pretty good amount of time to actually nuke or hit a target. Now, Frost Mages have like a 70% global, I believe, sometimes even higher if they get the correct procs, which is just an absolutely insane amount of health to hit somebody with. As far as dueling skills, Frost Mages can be pretty viable when it comes to dueling. I'd have to say they're more in the top 6 to 10-ish ratio. When it comes to dueling, I wouldn't say they're top 5, but I'd say they're definitely strong. The other thing that makes this class strong is if you're fighting like a rogue that does the stack up ability where, you know, he's trying to 1v1 you and he's stacking up his abilities, waiting next to you, sapping you, something you can do that I saw a mage do that was really OP is every time the rogue was about to open on him, he'd start stacking it up. The mage knew the rogue was lying next to him. So he'd throw down this freeze from his pet and he'd freeze the rogue out every single time and nuke him. And I was like, wow, that guy's freaking genius. That's amazing. So that's going to be one of the things that also makes this class a bit stronger is they are able to counter some of the strongest duelers by hitting them while they're in stealth. So let's go ahead and move on to number 2 on our list. Number 2 on our list is going to go to Affliction Warlocks. Now, guys, Affliction Warlocks right now on Legion are just nasty. They're nasty evil. So what makes these classes so strong? Of course, let's say in 2s they want to play with some kind of caster that control, obviously, because they've got of course limited CC and I'd say like a fear. And if you got a warrior sitting on you, any warlock knows where that's gonna go. Now, one of the things that makes Warlocks so amazing is they have a ton of survivability. Affliction Warlocks, they do. It's really surprising. Now, one of the things that gives this is Siphon Life. Now, Siphon Life, you put it on the target, and it gives you so much healing every time it deals damage. Now, you notice I've got Siphon Life ticking on all 4 of these targets. I've got it ticking on 5 targets, now 6 targets. And I'll go re-put it on the other targets as I'm passing back. And then I've got it on 7 and 8 targets. So I'm getting healing from 8 targets right now. I mean, I would... Look at this healing. Look at the healing. Look at the healing. Yeah, like, I would dare a DPS to try and kill an Affliction Warlock through it. That just isn't going to happen if you keep rolling those back and forth. Of course, with your dots, dealing an insane amount of pressure. You see where this is going. I've also got an ability called Phantom Singularity, which is kind of cool. You throw out this big orb that deals damage to the people that it hit, and I believe it does a little bit of AoE damage. And every time it deals damage, it heals you for 30% of your health. So you stack that up with that Siphon, you're healing for 30% of your health, and then you're going to get interrupted by a guy. So you throw out in your casting circle, and then you start throwing in your drain life too, which there are a few talents which you can buff your drain life. So that's hitting for like 65k while the other are healing you for 20k. So you're literally getting like 200k heals instantly if there's like 3 targets. Just an absolutely insane amount of healing, making this class really, really powerful for 1v1. Multiple DPS, of course, can take one down, but it still takes quite a while if the Affliction Warlock's running this heal spec and just going ham that way. So you can imagine a Warlock running dots, of course, corruption that doesn't fall off. On players, it's like 60 seconds, so like it never falls off. It's always there in the arenas. It's always there. Once it's there, it's permanent basically. And once they get up a few of their abilities, and like Affliction Warlocks, of course, want to play out to the later game, so they have to play smart with another class that can peel, like I said, like a Frost Mage, just peeling everything off of them. And you know, once they get to that later game, they stack up their artifact weapon, which per souls consumed will increase it by 10%, doubling the effect of all other traits. I mean, it's absolutely insane. You drop that ability, let's look at our damage. It's like ready to kill somebody, and you throw up dots on a target. Of course, that's going to make your heal do more damage, which is going to heal you for more. It's going to make your dodge move more damage, which is going to do even more. And of course, you can deal more single target damage by using Unstable Affliction, or if you have Gonads of Steel are playing 3s, I believe you can go into Haunt to deal more single target pressure, more upfront burst. If you're playing like a Mage or something, that might be good after you throw in your Unstable Affliction. But for the most part, I believe Warlocks, of course, are going to use the splash damage, which is really nice. But that is why Warlocks are so freaking tanky, why they seem so tanky. I mean, I fought one in Arena the other day that just did insane amounts, and me and the other guy were like, this Warlock's gnarly, how's he doing that? So I had to do a little bit of research. And of course, the most OP thing has to be probably the casting circle, since you can throw it down and not get interrupted for over 20 seconds while you're standing in it. Making your drain life just be like, nope, you can't do nothing about me casting it. Nope, it's just healing for a ton. There's just nothing you can do about it. The other thing that makes this class strong is their defensives are actually really strong. Of course, they can throw up unneeding resolve, which hardens your skin, reducing damage taken by 40%. And it makes it so you can't be interrupted for 8 seconds. You know, apply damage, get that crazy healing off, whatever you need to do, blow cooldowns. And, of course, you're not going to die. It's just going to be like, ha 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 ha. Alright, so we actually got 4 stacks right there. Pretty wild. Oh, okay. Let's see here. Last thing we need to talk about. Okay. Dark Pact. Not Death Pact. Wrong class. Dark Pact basically sacrifices a bunch of your little demon's health over there. Of course, I'm using the Doombolt demon. The thing is evil. It just chases people around and shoots them in arena. Basically, it's going to absorb 560k damage, which, you know, it's just a crazy amount. It's almost like a half heal or quarter heal for a Warlock. So yeah, more like a quarter, one third heal right now. Probably in battle, it's probably still just about a third. But yeah, I'd say that would have to be the strength of a Warlock. I mean, honestly, they aren't too technical or feel that rewarding, at least to me, when it comes to dealing a lot of burst damage. But the overall survivability of this caster class is absolutely insane. I've seen it 1v1 BM Hunters. I've seen it take on Blood DKs. We've seen it take on Ferals. Honestly, I don't know who would win between a good rogue and a warlock. Probably the good rogue, just for the simple fact that he could probably get rid of a lot of the warlock's healing on him by popping certain cooldowns and then surviving till the, you know, of course, the next round of cooldowns. Why warlock cooldowns are actually like a minute to 3 minutes. The rogue would probably have an upper hand in the long game. But anyways, guys, let's go ahead and jump to the number 1 on this list. Number 1 on our list, and easily the most aggressive of the casters, is going to go to Fire Mage. Now, Fire Mage, of course, has extreme damage, mobile damage. You don't have to stay still, and of course, if they can stay still, they will deal even more damage because of Rune of Power, and also an honor buff that basically allows them, I believe it's the honor buff, we'll have to look around for it a bit. No, maybe it's just under normal talents. Anyways, if Fire Mages stand still for any amount of time in PvP, it basically allows them to deal like 15% more damage, plus standing in this room gives them 50% more damage, and then they can throw out their AoE pressure. Now, you notice from this playstyle right here, I'm relying a lot on insta-procs and, insta-cast. Now, that's usually, I kind of set up by going invis on a target. Now, Fire Mages, one of the cool things about them is they can have the setup when it comes to opening on somebody, because they do have invis, so double DPS comps. Fire Mage is a great way to counter that, and of course CC the opener, because they don't know where you are. You could pop out of nowhere, hit Nova on both of them, and then, sheep one of them. And of course, let's say the Ellie Shaman or, Shadow Priest opens up right then while you're controlling the targets. And then because since Fire has so many insta-casts, if they focus you on a Fire, chances are you're going to be off into the better than they are. Because, you're going to be kiting them around, you're going to be throwing up your shields, you're just going to stay at major range. I mean, you don't even have to be hardly near somebody to deal quite a lot of pressure. Just make sure you don't kite them near your Shadow Priest. Alright? Now, of course, if they jump on your Shadow Priest, not only are your Novas for you, but your Novas are also for your Shadow Priest when he has to kite and get away from the targets, and of course, Poly. But, oh, wait, one more. We got breath. Dragon's Breath, of course. All in all, I'd have to say this this class is very well rounded at the moment. It can do very well in duels. I'd have to say there's probably I think about 3 classes I said that shine ahead of them in duels. But the thing is, this class is actually so good that a good Fire Mage can counter most of those classes from average to kind of better than average players, just based on the pure mobility and skill cap that somebody can have playing a Fire Mage when it comes to duel right now, because they are so mechanically strong compared to a lot of the other classes, just based on the fact that they can move and still deal a ton of damage, and of course have pretty cool amount of cooldowns with CCs, and to top it all off, they have a Frost Shield, which is an amazing defensive, and 2 ice blocks. There's more fireworks going off out there. Awesome. But anyways, guys, that's going to be it for this top 5 video, guys. Remember to leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and subscribe if you want to see more Legion content. And until next time, this was your boy Haze.